What up, good people? How's everybody doing? It's Saturday morning. Saturday morning.
We need a theme song, guys. So if any of you know anybody,
right,
that like to
submit,
suggest theme song for us, because we don't need Mr. Brooks singing early in the morning.
We don't mean. I'm telling you right now, the sun is coming out. Your man is getting even more chocolate. I love it. I love it. Don't you just love it?
Yes.
Good morning, everybody. This is Glenn P. Brooks Jr. Welcome to Breakfast with the Brookses. My name is Glenn P. Brooks Jr. I said that before. I think I probably said it too many times. I'm an author. I'm a speaker. I'm a coach. And this lovely young lady right here who's getting on my nerves already, but it's cool, is
Cherie Brooks Jr., author, speaker, relationship, and life balance coach. And it is a pleasure to be with you
here with
to be here with you guys this morning.
Guys, listen,
it's a lovely Saturday morning here in the Hampton Roads area. I got up early this morning, got my workout in, got my devotion time in.
You are ahead of the game.
I finished my final for school yesterday.
Yay!
I have a 2-day break.
2-day break. Wow. Before classes start again?
Yes, class starts back on
Monday. Jesus.
That's summer session starts Monday.
Summer session. Got it. So listen, guys, here's what I want y'all to do right away. Need y'all to tag and share and send this out to as many couples as you can find. Today, we're going to be continuing our series dealing with broken fences. We've been talking about it as it relates to your children and particularly, students, whether they're your children that you care for. But today, we're going to kind of turn the corner a little bit, and we're going to begin to start talking about couples and spouses. Before we do that, as you all may know, some of you know, Cherie and I started a relationship academy. It's an online academy. It's called MAPS. We started this. Go ahead. Let me take the banner off really quickly so that everybody can see it real quickly. That's MAPS right there. Boom, bam.
We have a new logo, though.
Oh, by the way, we do have a new logo. We do have T-shirts, guys. For those of y'all who may want to order these T-shirts, hats, anything like that, if you want to rep your spouse, rep your family, we certainly want to encourage you to go over to the CR Coach.
Our shirts with the new logo in soon.
Yeah, we should be. Can I finish telling them where the website is? I know you're a little amped because you did your little.
And I'm drinking my bulletproof coffee.
Oh Lord, that's a whole nother situation. We're not going to talk about that. I'm drinking mine too, but it hasn't kicked in yet. So the point is, go over to the crcoach.com, order your T-shirt. That's where you can also find your books. For those of you all who may not know, Cherie and I have written 7 books between us. We got a couple that are in the chamber that we have been thinking about. That we want to kind of crank out probably before the end of the year, probably our take on boundaries, some different things that we've learned over the years. But we want to let you guys know that those are available. So we'll just say good morning to Shannon. Thanks for jumping on, brother.
Good morning, sir.
And for those of you all who are coming in on the replay, do me a favor really quickly. Share this out as soon as possible. Now you don't have nothing to say.
Nope.
That is crazy. So today, guys, I want to talk to you. Oh, by the way, if you want to join MAPS.
Did you ever tell them the website?
I did.
Oh, okay.
If you want to join MAPS, if you want to come into our relationship academy, we would be glad to have you. Tell them a little bit about MAPS, babe.
MAPS is the Marriages and Parenting Successfully Relationship Academy. And it basically is a community that we developed where couples can come together, parents can come together in a room online. It's a live online room where you get to come together and discuss the issues that all parents and all couples face. We go through particular issues through series. We currently are talking about boundaries. We've done a series dealing with communication. So we pick kind of the top areas that couples struggle with, that parents deal with, and we'll go through several weeks just discussing that. We'll delve into, we use books as resources, and you get to share where you are, what you're going through, how you're dealing with it, how the information that we're providing you is helping you, and also any tools that you've come along the way that have been able to help you. We are not the end all be all. We don't claim that we know everything. Right. We have been successful in our 19 years of marriage. We've probably encountered pretty much every situation
just about
anybody can. We both were previously married before.
Yeah.
For me, twice before. Glenn was married once before. So We do have a wealth of experience,
Mm-hmm.
but there are also other couples in the group, particularly that have been married longer than us.
Yeah.
So they are able to provide wisdom as well. And so it's a community. And the thing that we both learned from our former marriages, part of one factor that affected us not being successful in those relationships was that we did our marriages in an incubator. And what I mean by that, we didn't have a community where we really talked about what was going on and felt safe to share the issues that we were going through. And we tried to figure it out on our own.
Yep.
And that did not prove successful.
Yep.
And unfortunately for many other couples, that doesn't prove to be successful. You know, you need to be able to have people with wise counsel that you can share with that can help you on this journey called a relationship.
Yeah. And I want to just interject really quickly. When we talk about wise counsel, guys, one of the things I think that people fail to measure that by is what wisdom are we talking about? Are we talking about ghetto logic? Are we talking about wisdom that, you know, your girlfriend who heard, who read this, who saw on Oprah, or are we talking about sound judgment, stuff that people have lived through and they can tell you from where they've come from? I am convinced you cannot teach people what you do not know.
Right.
You cannot teach people what you do not have, and you cannot give information that you've not learned or lived for yourself. Now, anybody can read a book and anybody can share what they got out of the book. I'm not saying that, but when it's hard, when you start talking about surrounding yourself with people who are winning, these people who are winning are people who have lived through failures and they know what it looks like to now turn that around and win. And so that's what we love about MAPS, our relationship academy. It's a non-judgmental environment. Good to see Shanice just jumped on. Latasha, shout out to MAPS. Appreciate her and Will, brand new couple in our group. But the goal of it is to provide the community that we did not get in our first marriages.
Right.
And we honestly think that significantly played a part in why we didn't make it.
Right. And I think it's especially important in relationships. You know, you can get wisdom from people in other areas that they may not have experienced. You know, somebody can share their head knowledge with you. But when it comes to relationships, I believe that the best wisdom that you'll get is from somebody who's where you want to go, or is on their way there. They're a few steps ahead of you, and so they've been through what you've been through,
right?
And they've been able to navigate through that successfully,
right? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
You know, it's different. You know, I'm not saying your single friend can't give you advice on your finances if their finances are in order.
Yeah,
that's great. But when it comes to your relationship, unless they've been married, unless they've dealt with the issues that you've dealt with, it's going to be very hard for them to really
speak to that.
Yeah. And so you want to surround yourself with people. And the key is people that have been successful, that are successful. You don't want to surround yourself with other people that are in the same struggle you in. Yeah. And y'all all floundering through this thing.
Yeah. You know, I'll give you a quick example. When I was 5 years into my marriage, there's no way, let's say this, 5 years into my first marriage, and 5 years into my second marriage was a different 5 years. I'm going to say that again. 5 years into my first marriage, which actually lasted 12 years, and 5 years into my second marriage are two different worlds. One, because the first one, I had nothing. I was 25 years old, maybe. Mm-hmm. Not that the age mattered, but I had no experiences coming into that. Right. So I had nothing to share. So someone came to me and they asked, well, how do I do marriage? Because you seem to be doing well. I didn't have a lot to tell them. I could tell them a few things. But by the time I got 5 years into my second marriage, I had a failed marriage on my hands, 12 years of that. And then I had 5 years of figuring out how to rewrite the wrongs in the second one around. So I just want you guys to be really careful. Again, we're talking about why it's important to have community. MAPS Relationship Academy is one of those places where people come in, they're able to get what they need. Karen, good morning. Nikki, good morning. Shout out to our MAPS community. They're coming in the room. I just want you guys to understand the power, the validity, and the need for strong community.
Right. And one thing that we often say is that we have an unfair advantage, in a sense, in our marriage this time, because we have the failed marriages in the past. We know everything to do wrong. And so when we came into this relationship, it was like, okay, let's start off. Just don't do what you did in the last relationship.
And you might be okay.
We gave ourselves a jump start there.
Yeah.
Because we knew don't repeat the patterns of the past, because
Yeah.
we had made so many mistakes
Yeah.
in our former relationships. We knew, okay, let's just start there. Don't repeat that.
Yeah.
And so we kind of had to get our tail handed to us.
I know it. Look. And that's putting it mildly. It's funny. I almost liken it to like going into, my homeowners would understand this analogy.
Mm.
There's one thing to buy a home, and then there's another thing to buy a home with equity already in it.
Right.
I'm going to say that again. There's one thing to buy a home, and then there's a whole nother thing to buy a home that already has equity in the home.
Right.
What that means is that you're not starting from ground zero. Like the day we moved into our home, the first home that we had bought together, first home that I think both you and I had ever owned,
Mm-hmm.
we walked in there with equity
Right.
already in the house.
Mm-hmm.
And so it gave us a leg up, as opposed to there are people that actually go into homes upside down. Like it's not because of the economy, because of the market, or whatever the case may be. So you want to go into your relationship with equity in it. And that brings me to what we're going to talk about today. So today, babe, we're going to talk about fixing broken fences, particularly for couples.
Mm-hmm.
And when we talk about broken fences, what we're really talking about is boundaries.
Right.
What we're really talking about is being able to just draw the line and say, this is where I stop and this is where you begin. And I think all too often, many of us don't understand where that line is.
Right. Right. And I think one key area, especially in relationships and for couples, a boundary that line that is drawn is when it comes to communication.
Yeah.
Understanding your spouse's communication style.
Yeah.
Understanding how they hear you, how they don't hear you. And I'll use us as an example. When we first got together, we both came from very different backgrounds. I was not a talker.
No.
At all.
You, not a talker.
And I came from a family of non-talkers.
Yeah.
They did not, of non-communicators. I won't say non-talkers, of non-communicators. We did not communicate. You just went through life. You dealt with it.
Didn't
Nobody
talk
talked
about it.
anything.
Mm-mm.
So when Glenn and I get together, he comes from a family of talkers and communicators. They want to talk about everything. Loudly.
Right.
Repeatedly.
Right. And beating a dead horse to death. You know what I'm saying?
And because he's a communicator, he gets extremely passionate about things. For me, when he would get passionate, I heard him yelling at me. That would shut me down.
Mm-hmm.
So very on in our relationship.
Early on.
You
said very on.
Oh, very early.
As opposed to very off.
It's the coffee.
It's the coffee.
Very early on in our relationship, we learned that was not working, because what would happen, one of two things would happen. I would either shut down or I would take a fight or flight. My flight was me shutting down, and I wouldn't talk. I would just be like, I'm okay. I don't
right. What's wrong? What's wrong with you, babe?
Nothing.
Baby, you sure?
I'm fine.
I don't know. You look like something might be wrong.
No, I'm good.
All right, cool.
It's okay. So I was shut down. The other was fight. So he'd be being passionate, sharing whatever he's sharing. And I'm sitting there. And then I'm flim flam flarm. Just leave me to flim flam alone.
And guys, she's saying flim flam flarm now because
nice.
She's being nice, but they were real words.
And my voice is elevated, so I'm coming out swinging now because I feel like I've been backed up into a corner.
Yeah. And
so we, after going through that, probably for the first couple of years in our marriage, I finally was like, time out.
Yeah.
Okay, we can't keep doing this.
Yeah. We got to do something different.
For me, and it was in a time of non-crisis. This was not in the middle of a heated discussion that we had this. This was like, we just were sitting around one day. I was like, something's been on my mind and I want to talk about it. We're not communicating well. We're not, when you come at me with all this energy, I'm not able to receive that. And he's like, what, huh? What are you talking about?
what energy?
I'm just sharing.
I'm just talking.
And I'm like, no, you don't get it. And so we were able to talk in non-crisis, and I was able to tell him, look, for me, in order for me to be able to hear you and for me to be able to, receive what it is you're saying, I need you to bring that down to about a 5.
Right.
I can't do a 10.
Right.
Because it feels like you ready to fight, and I'm gonna come out swinging, or I'm just gonna shut you out and I'm not gonna listen, so I'm not hearing. So either way, you're not communicating with me. You're just talking at that point. It's like Charlie Brown.
Yeah.
Womp, womp, womp.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not what you want.
So I really want to interject right here, Cherie, because I think that people, particularly for those of you all who are just jumping on, Daryl Gang and Dean, good to see you, brother. Good to see you in the room. Y'all do me a favor really quickly. Share this out. Tag a couple of people that you may know that are couples, not just married couples, but maybe they are dating and they're trying to figure this out. And what we like to try to do here on Breakfast with the Brookses is just give you a couple of tips and quick strategies, things that you can think about on how to execute and maybe get a different result than what you're than when you're currently getting. So we're talking about fixing broken fences for couples, and more specifically, why you need, all caps, to respect your spouse's or significant other's boundaries. Why do you need to respect your significant other or your spouse's boundaries? I have to say that, and you said something, I just want to kind of pick up with where you left off, Cherie. You said that when you are on 10 and you're communicating with me,
when you're on 10.
When I'm on 10, I'm you.
Oh, okay.
You said to me, when you are on 10,
right,
and you're communicating with me, I can't hear you,
right,
and or I want to fight you.
Right. I feel like I'm being attacked.
I feel like I'm being attacked. Now, here's a challenge, guys. I want y'all to hear this very clearly. The whole point of having a conversation, listen to me very carefully, because I'm going to share something so deep with you that it's going to just change your whole week.
Mm-hmm.
The entire point of having a conversation with someone is that they would hear you.
Mm.
Let that breathe.
Think about that.
Let that breathe.
The reason why.
Let that breathe, Cherie.
Can I say that?
No. Now talk.
The reason why I'm saying whatever I'm saying is because I want you, yes, you out there, I want you to hear me. I want you to understand what I'm saying. So if I'm speaking in Pig Latin or I'm speaking in French and you don't speak French, you're not hearing me. You're not understanding. You're not comprehending what I'm saying.
Right.
So if I'm yelling at you and that shuts you down, or it causes you to feel like you're being attacked, which also shuts you down from hearing.
Yep.
It's just a different outward expression of it. But either way, you're not hearing anymore.
Correct.
Then you're not hearing me. So I'm talking just to be talking at that point, because my goal is not to get you to hear me. At that point, I just want to talk to be talking.
And I want to pick up right there, babe, because I think that what people actually believe is that your point actually matters. This is going to be tight. I want y'all to listen. Y'all might want to get a pen for this one. We learned a long time ago that we had to decide when we came into a conversation with each other, the question that needed to be answered on the front end is, do I want my point or do I want peace? Which do I want? And when you decide which one you want, at that point, you get to proceed. Now, for many of you, you just want your point. You just want to make a point.
I just need to make sure that you know,
because what you didn't.
This is what I feel.
Here's what you don't know.
This is what I'm saying.
But I'm just saying.
You just need to know.
And you ain't hearing me.
You need to know.
No, I got you. But my point is.
But I'm saying.
But see, my thing is. Here's my thing.
No, but I'm saying.
Here's my thing. What I'm saying is, y'all see how that goes? Here's what happens in that, guys. There is no progress.
We need to do this coffee more.
We do need to do this coffee. If you've not had Bulletproof, so we started exploring with the keto diet / lifestyle thing. And I am on a quest to find any way to jumpstart my metabolism, because for whatever reason, it has slowed all the way down without taking drugs. And my doctor keeps telling me, Glenn, it's because you're over 50. I don't want to hear that. So I'm adopting a lifestyle. Cherie is helping me big time. She's doing it too. We all are doing it to figure out a way to do that. And one of the things that they talk about is less carbs, less sugar, and more fat. Good fat is a good fat. So therefore, you are able to now burn fat as opposed to carbohydrates. So I had never heard of coffee with fat in it. And it's the craziest thing. So if you go to Starbucks and you think about them mixing up this concoction, that's kind of what this is, where it's coffee and it's actually butter and it's actually whipping cream. There's no sugar in it. Heavy whipping cream. And it is unbelievably good. And I'm telling you right now, not only does it get you fired up, but it also gets you, it stokes your fire literally and causes you to burn stuff up a little bit quicker. So I'm excited.
That was a sidebar. That's our little public service announcement.
Now we can return to our program already in progress. So I just wanted to say this last thing, and then we're going to go into a couple of quick tips as to why you need to respect your spouse's boundaries. And the reason is, particularly one of them, when it comes to communication, is because if your spouse, if your significant other, if the person that you're talking to communicates to you that I don't hear you when you yell, I can't understand what you're saying, I want to fight you, I want to leave you, then I'm going to suggest that you listen to that very carefully. You take heed to that. And I'm going to go back to what a boundary is. They've just got finished defining for you what they are willing to own and what they are not willing to own.
Right. And that's the key, is that the person who has the boundary, the person who, I need to put this boundary in place, I need you to not yell at me, I need you to, whatever it is, they have to speak up and tell the other person, this is a boundary for me. You cannot in your mind say, well, he can't talk to me that way because I just don't hear him. And you never tell him that.
Right.
You have to have that conversation, because if they don't know that the boundary exists, unlike at your home, there's a fence, a physical fence that may go around your house. That is a physical boundary. People see that when they walk up to your house.
Yeah.
Boundaries in relationships are not physical.
Yeah.
The person can't see it. So if you never communicate that to them, you can't get upset with them if they keep crossing a boundary that they don't know is there. Mm-hmm. And so you have to, when it's not crisis,
when things
are good, y'all just sitting down watching TV,
and you chilling,
Netflix,
date night, whatever. Say, hey, can I run this past you?
Sitting across the table, say, hey, I've been thinking about something. I realize when you do A, B, C, and D, it's a problem for me because it causes me to feel this way, whatever. It would help me.
Y'all hear the language?
It would help me if you could not do this, because when you do, it causes this. And so in order for me to be able to receive what it is you're saying,
y'all hear the language?
In order for me to be able to do what it is you're asking me to do, in order for us to have peace in our home, whatever it is, I'm going to need for you to do this. And in turn, when you do that, I'll be able to respond this way, which I think ultimately is your goal.
Ooh, girl, let me tell you something right now. Y'all need to record that bad boy and put it on repeat, because Cherie just literally gave you the language that you need to have when you're having that hard conversation. Todd St. Germain just jumped in. Todd, do me a favor. Todd and them are doing an incredible event next week. I want you guys to really, really find out about it. Do me a favor, Todd, if you can, drop in the chat the website to your communication event. He's going to be doing it. He's a coach. He's one of my coaches. And he's an incredible man. He and his wife, Angie, are just great friends of ours, but they're great accountability people as well. They're doing a workshop next Saturday, I think it is, 19th of May, that you really want to be a part of. So make sure that you, Todd, do me a huge favor, brother. Drop your website in the chat. And if you're in the Hampton Roads area and you're struggling with communication, we're talking a little bit about that this morning, you want to be in that workshop. But what I wanted to say, Cherie, to what you just said was huge. You just gave me language to be able to interact with you so that I can give you what you want.
Right.
And oftentimes, guys, what happens is your spouse is desperately trying to communicate what it is that they need. And that's why we put it in here. Why do you need to respect your spouse's boundaries? Why do you need to respect your spouse's or your significant other's boundaries? The reason why is because there's something that they have that you want. Hear me very clearly. There's something that they have that you want. And the way you get it is to respect their boundary. Let me give you a physical example of that. If I have we're out back, we're playing ball, the kids, let's say we're all teenagers or we're kids, we're playing baseball out in the back, and our ball goes into the yard of a neighbor, right? The neighbor's yard has a gate, has a fence around it, and that gate is locked, right? In order for me to get my ball, I have two ways of doing that. I can either climb the fence and go over the boundary line and get my ball, thus exposing myself to the dog that's back there who's going to bite me. Or I could go stop the game, walk around the front, knock on the door and say, hey, Mr. So-and-so, Miss So-and-so, can you open the gate because we hit our ball over your fence in your yard? If I go back to relationships, what happens is that oftentimes y'all don't want to have the conversation with the neighbor. Mm. You don't want to go around and knock on the door. You don't want to ask permission to come into the yard.
Right. You want to just blow past it, jump over the fence, go in the yard, and then he comes out.
He's mad.
With his shotgun. Talking about, get out my
yard. And the dog is barking. Right. He's on a chain. And I'm not making this stuff up, guys. Like, that's how relationships many times are characterized. And you wonder why you get bit.
Right. Because then you mad. Why he yelling at me? Why you fussing at me? I just was trying to get my ball. You crossed my boundary. And if you had just asked,
I would have been more than happy to put the dog up. Right? Unlock the gate, hand you your ball, you guys can go ahead and continue to play.
Right.
But when we don't do that in relationships, guys, here's what we fail to do. We fail to keep and maintain these boundaries. So really quickly,
and
go ahead.
Real quick, the other reason why you want to respect your spouse's boundary is because you want peace in your home.
Ooh, please say that again.
You want peace. Now, peace does not mean that you avoid confrontation. It doesn't mean that you don't deal with issues, but peace means that you guys are able to respectfully discuss issues, and there's not this icky feeling all the time around the house because somebody's always bothered because somebody is crossing their boundaries constantly. When a person constantly steps on your boundaries, there's a level of resentment that's going to build up.
100%.
And so 100%. It's going to be reflected in the way that you guys interact, even not in that situation, because I feel like I'm being disrespected because, I've asked you, do me a favor. If you go in the kitchen and the dishes are clean, can you put the dishes in the dishwasher?
Yep.
Don't leave them on the counter. Don't leave them in the sink. That's a boundary for me. I'm not asking you to wash them. Put them in the dishwasher.
Right.
But I don't like to come home and it's dirty dishes all over the kitchen.
Correct.
If we've had that conversation and you continue to do it, I'm the type of person, I'm not going to yell and fuss about it. But know that there's something building up inside of me every time I come and I see those dishes.
Correct.
So if you want peace in the house, just put the stuff in the dishwasher.
Guys, listen to me very carefully. Good to see that Kathy jumped in the room. Renee jumped in the room. Shout out to Maps. Y'all are representing. Joyce just jumped in the room.
Good morning.
Todd just dropped his website address. So make sure y'all go back if you're struggling with communication and you want to come to a workshop that will absolutely put you in another space, teaching you how to communicate more effectively. You want to go to that. But Brenda Whitelaw, good stuff. I appreciate that, Brenda.
Hey.
Listen, guys, Cherie, you said something that's just powerful. And I got to say this. We've got to understand that when I say that the reason why you want to respect the boundaries of your spouse or your significant other, why you need to do that, I said earlier, because they have something you want. And one of the things that I want you to understand is that in you being able to access and get that from them, you're going to need their permission to go with you on this. I think that when we talk about peace in the home, as a man, there's nothing more satisfying than coming home to a home filled with peace. There's nothing more satisfying and refreshing after either a hard day's work or whatever the case may be. For me, I work out of the house. So the truth is that I'm home and it's peaceful all day. But here's the crazy thing. Peace continues once she comes home. So if Cherie is out working a full-time job and she comes home and I've had peace because I've had my own sort of inner sanctuary type situation going on all day, that peace is not being crashed because of boundaries. And so if I'm in my office, when Cherie comes to my office in the home, she actually will knock on the door and say, hey, I'm home. Just wanted to let you know. She doesn't barge in my office because she realizes I'm still at work. Does that make sense, guys? And so we do these things, and they're common courtesies to one another that garner us peace. And I promise you, when you have that kind of peace in your home, when you have that kind of peace in your life, all kinds of things are possible. The answer, that question is, why boundaries? If you want to know the answer, put a one in the chat. You want to know why boundaries? Put a 1 in the chat. I just want to know. Sheree, is that true or not in terms of?
Right. And it's funny because you'll hear people say, people will joke and say, people get divorces over stuff like leaving the top off the toothpaste or the toilet or leaving the toilet seat up. The issue with that, even though those seem like minor things, the issue is that a boundary has been crossed.
Right.
It's not so much the toothpaste. It's not so much that you leave the toilet seat up or down, whatever it is. I don't know. Or you don't replace it, whatever it is.
Whatever it is, up or down.
It's not that. The issue is that a boundary has been crossed. If that is a boundary for me, if for me having, you not leaving toothpaste in the sink, if that's something that just rubs me, that's just something that's an issue for me.
It irritates you for whatever reason.
For whatever reason. It may seem minor to you, but if that is a real issue for me and I share that with you and you continue to still do it,
guys,
that's a lack of respect,
guys,
because it's a minor thing.
Right.
So it's something you can make an adjustment on.
Right.
But what happens oftentimes, people say, oh, that's a little thing. I ain't tripping off of her.
Right.
She won't get over that. No, if she said it bothers her, it bothers her. No different than for the men. Okay,
you said if she said it bothers her, it bothers her. That is so like really, it's true. Stop acting like it's not so.
Right. And so men, we all adults on this line.
I'm gonna
talk to the men for a minute.
Come on, bring it.
So if for you, the fact that your wife never initiates intimacy is an issue and you share that with her and she never makes an effort, I'm not saying she got to do it every day, but if she never, ever makes an effort, ladies, hear me. You're wrong. If he shares with you that that's an issue for him, that he needs, and initiating doesn't necessarily mean you got to come home and you got the lingerie on, whatever. It's you calling him flirting during the day. You sending him texts, flirting with him during the day.
We into another realm now.
But that's a boundary for him.
No, I get it. You're right.
People don't realize boundaries are not always these big things.
Right.
A boundary is an area where, for me, I have to draw a line.
Correct.
If you don't do this, it's going to cause this for me.
Correct. I love that, Sheree. I love that. Daryl just jumped in. So he says, so should I not bust in the house while Shanice is working, singing, and say, hey, where the party at?
No, you should not.
No. Only if Daryl, listen.
Text her first, say,
if
hey,
you say,
outside.
I'm on my way home and I just want to let you know I'm excited, had a great day, and I'm ready to party. Let her know that before you come in the door, so that when you bust in the door, it's hey, where the party? Well, she at least no.
You still don't do that.
No. I'm saying no. You respect where she's at, and you let her dictate that pace.
Right.
And
once you come in the house, if she's like, I'm good, I'm done for the day.
Yeah. It's like, hey, where the party at? Where the party? So look, guys, I want you to say this. Everybody's dropping ones. They want to know, well, why boundaries? We've talked about it the entire broadcast today, guys. Do me a favor if you can, share this out. Bless somebody. Do not be selfish. Some of y'all so caught up in listening that you forgot to hit the share button because you're so greedy. You're eating all this good stuff up for yourself. Share it with somebody that you know who's challenged. But what we do want to do is really quickly, why boundaries? Very simply, guys, because number one, boundaries provide protection. They provide protection and being able to keep people off your stuff. And if you have issues with certain areas, when you draw a line, it protects you from being exposed in areas that are just not comfortable for you. Right. I'll use a very vivid example, not trying to be vulgar, but some of you guys don't have a problem in coming into the bathroom while the other is using it. Right. You just don't have a problem with that. Right. But then there are some of us that have a problem with that. It's like, can you not come in the bathroom? And I remember early on in our relationship, you didn't have a problem with that. I'm like, I'm using it. But here was the crazy thing. I never did that to her. Like, you can't recall a time where I came into the bathroom on you. If you notice, it was a boundary of mine. And I know that's really vivid and probably TMI for some people, but I want you guys to understand
Right, but that was
that's a problem.
Right, but that was a boundary for him. And once he shared it with me,
She stopped doing that. She stopped doing it almost immediately. So the point I'm making, guys, is that boundaries protect you from people walking in on your stuff. Number two, why boundaries is because they also provide. They provide all kinds of freedoms and different things, and that's that. Let me say provision. Let me help you out when I say provision. The provision that a boundary provides is the ability to go and come freely.
Right.
So now there is a freedom that we have in our relationship, that because I've respected your boundary, the boundary actually set it up so that there was a freedom that I get to experience with you. Whereas when I am ignoring that boundary, I don't get access, and thus I don't enjoy the freedom of being in relationship with you.
Right. It actually creates less restriction. If you think about those little things like the toothpaste and things like that, you may think, hey, they bossing me around. They trying to be the boss of me. No, if you simply do the little thing that they're asking you to do, it frees you both up because now that's not an issue anymore. Yeah. You don't have to have that conversation anymore because you simply put the dish in the dishwasher.
Absolutely.
Which is not going to kill you.
Right. And see, listen, the good news is, and you have to tell them, baby, I have become so good at
Yes, that. You have. You're much better. Much.
Can we get another much?
Much better. But that was an issue for me early on in our relationship because I'm like, when I come home from work, because I typically cook when I get home, I did not like the kitchen to be dirty. I can't cook in a dirty kitchen. And if I got to come home and I got to clean the dishes and all that, by the time I do that, I don't feel like cooking. So if you want me to cook dinner, simply put the stuff in the dishwasher or wash the dishes. And in the beginning, early years, he was like, well, it's only 3 dishes. But he, eventually started respecting that boundary of mine. And so now I can come home and I can freely cook. Yep. And he gets a nice hot meal.
And I can freely eat. Help me, Jesus. Why? Because, guys, listen, remember I told you that the reason why I need to respect her boundary is because there's some things over on her side of the fence that I want. It's called a hot meal.
Right.
It's called hot conversation. It's called just us enjoying each other's company without it being any funk in the air, any issues. And I promise you that is worth observing your boundary. The last thing I do want to close with, Boo.
Real quick before you go to that. Think of it this way. When you have kids, the last thing you want to do when you come home from work is have to get on them because they didn't do their chores.
Yep. You don't feel like
you don't want to have to do that when you come in the house. So spouses or partners, think about that. When your spouse comes home or when they've asked you to do something, you don't want them to have to, or you don't want to have to get on them or ask them repeatedly to do something that you've already expressed to them is something that you would like for them to do.
Right.
So let's not bring each other down to the level where you got to treat each other like children.
Right.
Let's be adults.
Right. Right.
Do what it is that
quid pro quo. Joy, look, Joy, don't start no stuff, Joy. I know that's right.
Right. Do what it is.
Do a little something for me. I do a little something for you, and we good.
I do what it is that your spouse has asked you to do. You're not a child. You shouldn't have to keep asking you. I shouldn't have to put up a chore chart for my husband.
Okay, so here's what I want to close out with, and guys, we got to go because I haven't done my morning exercise yet. You can tell she has. So I got stuff to do. But here's what I want you to understand. Start thinking about boundaries in terms of value.
Right.
When a person decides to say, this is a boundary for me, what they really are saying, this is something I value.
And respect that.
And I just need you to understand that value, if we go back to the house, the property line issue, you spent a lot. They say that a home, when the person purchases a home, generally speaking, it's the single largest investment that they'll ever make in all of their life. I disagree with that. I think your relationship is the single largest investments that you'll ever make in your life. However, the house is a very, very quick second. The truth of the matter is that I've made an investment. This is important to me. Mm-hmm. And so if I'm telling you that this is what I need, I'm going to need you to work on giving that. Now, next week, when we come back, we're going to talk about what your responsibilities are. There's some of you guys that are having to own responsibilities that are not yours. What happens when you have a lot of boundaries? We're going to talk, Natasha, that's a great question. I want to deal with that next week, because the truth of the matter is it doesn't matter how many boundaries you have as much as that they're properly communicated. Right. Now, here's the other part. There are some people that have what they call a boundary, and it's really a pet peeve. Right. It's a non-issue for in the real world. Right. But because of their own insecurities, because of their own maybe dysfunctions and different pet peeves and things like that, it's something that it's an irritant, but it's not about, when we talk about boundaries, we're talking about people's value systems. Right. And so, and I talked about the whole toothpaste thing earlier. I was using that as an example, but to me, there are $5 issues, there are $500 issues. Toothpaste is a $5 issue. I'm not going to leave you because you won't put the top on the toothpaste. Mm-hmm. That's a pet peeve. Right. That's something that I can get over. I can just do that myself and move on. Yep. But if it's something major, if it's like Glenn he's working out of the house. If I come in the house repeatedly and I just barge in his office, I'm disrupting his work. He could be on the phone with a client. That's a $500 issue, because that could cost him money. Yeah. That could cost him literally something. Yeah. So it's an issue that cost something, that's going to cause, there's some costs associated, not necessarily physical costs mm-hmm. or monetary costs, but it's something like, for us, even with the communication thing, if his being on a 10 when he talks to me causes me to shut down, that's costing in our relationship because we're not communicating. Correct. There's a cost associated with that. But the fact that he doesn't put the top on the toothpaste, right, and that bothers me. Right. I'm going to communicate that. Right. And yeah, I'm going to feel some type of way about it. Mm-hmm. But eventually I'm going to get to the point and be like, I'm not going to sweat that. Right. Right. So guys, here, I appreciate you. I'm glad, Tasha, I'm glad we were able to help you. Because here's what I want to do, guys. There's some of you all who are going through things you need somebody to kind of speak into. I want to encourage you. It won't cost you a single red cent to maybe sign up to get a free one-on-one coaching assessment with us as to what's going on with you, right? What is really going on in the situation? Perhaps you need to be in our coaching academy. Perhaps you need to have a coach. Some of y'all need therapy. Some of you need to go and have some real stuff. We can assess and send you to wherever. We're not the people that says we know it all. We have all the answers. We know. But what we will say is this: if you don't make an investment in you, you will lose. Right. Please listen to me. And an investment is not just sitting with us Saturday morning in a one-way conversation. So let's just be very honest. We're talking to an entire group of people right now, right? We are having to respond to you saying something in a chat, which is one or two words here or there. I don't know your situation for real. Right. You're not able to give us the full picture. Therefore, there's a level of help that you're not getting, right? But if you depend on this kind of one-way communication, the radio, the barbershop, Oprah, and I'm saying Oprah meaning anybody who's props himself up as the guru in any area, and it's no disrespect. I love Oprah. Right, but you're just sitting as a viewer. As a passive receiver, you lose, because at this point you need to be in a scenario where you can engage people to say, hey, here's what I'm going through. My job many times really is to listen for what's wrong so that I can create a game plan to help you implement to get to what's right. Don't ask me to say that again. That was the first time I ever said that. So that is my job as a coach, is to really, really help just put together game plans for you to execute so that you can win. And that's what we do every single day. We're not perfect. Nope, but we're winning. But we are winning. I will promise you that. We're not perfect, but we 100%. We don't fight each other, but we fight for our relationship. 100%. How many fights have we had in 19 years, baby? Real, authentic arguments. 5. How many? 5. In 19 years? Yes. I say we have a winning track record. Mm-hmm. And if you want to get with some winners, go to crcoach.com. At the end of the day, guys, we like to tell people, listen. You cannot do life by yourself and be successful at it. You can't. Mm-hmm. You cannot do life by yourself and get ahead, because there's too many dynamics that will beat you upside the head. So I promise you, if you want to get in community with folks, find a tribe, love them hard, add value, and grow. At the end of the day, we like to tell people, hashtag We all need some help. Hopefully, we will see you guys next week, Saturday, 8 a.m. We'll be back and we're going to talk about some solutions, some things that you're responsible for, and some things you're just flat out not responsible for. I hope you guys can join us.
All right, guys.
We talk soon.
Have a great Saturday. And for all the mothers out there, happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day. We'll talk to you.
And don't forget, send us your ideas about a theme song.
Because we don't want to be singing. Bye.
Bye.